The opinions, viewpoints, and beliefs presented on this program do not necessarily reflect those of the management, the affiliates and broadcast partners, or the sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
Scarefest Radio, the radio you can see.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to Scarefest Television. I'm Wes Forsythe, your host for the evening, broadcasting from deep within the quarantine zone. My guest tonight, my special guest and my co-host tonight, I'm just so excited. This is going to be a great episode. I have Mr. Lew Temple as our guest. CC and is co-hosting. Now, everybody, we're going to take a pause here real quick. Pull up my slideshow. I want to point something out. When I have a guest on the air, okay, this is what CC wears when it's just me and her doing a bullshit show. This is what she wore the last time she was on with a guest, and of course, you've seen how she's dressed tonight. So I just want to point out that I'm getting a bit of a complex. Just saying. Everybody, tonight at the 30-minute mark, we will have celebrity announcements. I've got a couple of those coming up, so stick around for the half hour. And we're going to talk about our contest that I was correct about. If you make it too hard, if you make people actually work for it, they don't play the game. So we're going to try it again. We're going to explain it really, really good and try to get everybody playing our contest to win some gift card for $50. Let's go ahead and get right into it with our guest, Mr. Lew Temple, because I'm so excited to have you, Lew. First thing I want to say to you is your Southern birthright shows up in every word you say. You are a Southern gentleman. I can tell by the way you type.
Oh, that's kind of you to say. Thank you, Wes. Hey, let me just say thank you for having me. CC, you look lovely. But so do you, Wes. I'm going to also compliment you on your resplendent festive shirt. I feel like we could be on a tropical holiday, this entire epidemic, and no worse for wear. So thank you, sir. And thanks for that compliment. I take that actually to heart with great pride as a Southern gentleman yourself. I know what that is. I can tell you were raised right, but I do want to point out I'm not wearing pants. So just not to blow the illusion completely. That makes this just that much fun. Don't threaten me with a good time, Wes. Now, the second thing, okay, now, in some of your promo pictures, you're clean shaven. I was so happy to have your mustache with us tonight. In every movie I think that I watched, you have some varying degree of really cool mustache. Do you do that yourself, or do you have like a team of people that when you get a movie deal, come and prepare your face? The team of people that is typically either a writer or a producer that or a production that's just too lazy. I ask to be clean shaven in almost everything I do because I'm so seldom clean shaven. Most actors sort of like to hide behind the facial hair, and I've done it so much that I look for the opportunity to remove it. Also, sad to say, and you probably know this, Wes, you don't, CC, but facial hair can age you a little bit, especially when you get a few of those grays, those Confederates. And so I don't mind unloading a few of those. But interestingly enough, my facial hair, in my opinion, compared to, we're going into hygiene right off the front. Fasten your seatbelts, folks. My facial hair, in my opinion, is fine, but certainly not as resplendent as I've made it. I've been able to groom and wax and shape and cut and get the most out of it. And for so many years on screen, I didn't wear it. I was somewhat of a, cream-faced loon, but lately it landed. The specific Axel mustache, the Waxel, it showed up. I was cast as Axel on The Walking Dead while I was making a movie for Disney, The Lone Ranger, and playing a Texas Ranger, and we were all wearing big mustaches. And I was still filming that and couldn't shave it off. So I actually bartered that into the negotiation. I said, well, look, I can't take the job if you're going to have me show up and shave. I just can't.
We froze.
Do that now. I know how this goes. Oh,
there we go.
Dear. So I actually was sort of thinking I would pass on The Walking Dead and just keep the Disney job going. They made it good. And then the mustache actually worked. So yeah, it started to precede me. So I started to wear it less. It has more followers than I do on Twitter.
It's one of those things that watching several of your movies this week, it just seems like your facial hair always has character. And I just wanted to throw that out there. CC,
yeah.
Let's get you in here before the break.
So speaking as a woman in isolation, I do feel your pain about the facial hair because, as you know, the spas are closed and that hair does age you. So what does social isolation look like for you?
Well, it's interesting because we're in sunny Southern California. It's so pretty right now, and the sky is blue. And it's the cleanest air we've ever experienced. And so all indications by observation is it's paradise. Another day in paradise, and it's perfect. And yet we all recognize what a really scary, difficult time this is. And that we not only have to look out for ourselves, but everyone else. So that's really difficult. And I think it's hard to keep yourself isolated. But for me, it's getting up. For me, it's more about a routine, CC, than I've ever had before. I have recognized I have to follow a routine, a list. I set up a list every day that I have to complete. I work on, writing. I've been writing a lot.
Wow.
And so I start with exercise in the morning. I get up at 6:30. I'm not sleeping in. I'm on the go. I'm actually trying to get things done, very task oriented, and I've become a student of my list, my calendar. And hopefully that won't become obsessive. But some of the things that I'm doing a lot of this, obviously, writing stories, and I'm reading online. I'm reading Lonesome Dove, Larry McMurtry's classic. So I'm reading along with several of my teammates from The Walking Dead. I've solicited their help, and many other actors are throwing in for a chapter, and it's a delight. And so that's something that I have to do every day, or I want to do every day, and that keeps me on task.
Well, that's amazing. So tell me, what do you like to write about? As somebody who has starred in so many different types of film, what interests you?
The most mundane things. I like to take a conversation about insurance claims, a conversation about water bills, or your cell phone contract, and spin them into a great mystery. So I start with something so basic and end up with something so out there, like Bitcoin. We're going to start with an AT&T bill and down a rabbit hole in a dark bar discussing transfer of Bitcoin for cryogenically frozen human eggs. And so I like to go off into those absolutely routine, strange AA meetings that turn into the most nefarious enabled group of dastardly villains there is.
Now, have you ever published anything or done any movies yourself?
I have. I've sold a couple of scripts, and I'm trying to just hold on to my Easter eggs that I might be able to build them for my little ensemble, whomever they may be. I'm still trying to find those people too. I have written a show, interestingly, Wes, about Kentucky, it's called Bud, and it's about a legacy tobacco family that's recognizing that crop, tobacco, which of course it's not. It's probably as strong as ever, but in my story, it's kind of going out of style to grow cancer, but it's totally in style to grow high. And so let's just change the weed to weed, and then we can get down to them Kentucky coal mines and grow some really good hydroponics. But we got to figure out the formula, and these Kentucky heritage tobacco farmers, these brothers, don't know that, but they know they can figure out who does. So a lot of moonshine sensibility in it. And I love this. I love this story. It's a good Southern Gothic type story. It's called Bud.
Bud. Well, I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that sometime in the future.
Yay.
And that probably takes us up to our first commercial break, Wes.
Yes, it does, everybody. We will be right back. Everyone is talking about CBD oil, and it seems like almost everyone is using it. The research is ongoing, but the apparent health benefits are overwhelming. If you're going to use CBD products, though, what brand should you buy? First, find out where the hemp was grown. Imports are flooding the market. How potent is it? Look for a brand that plainly states its concentration on the label. And look for full spectrum CBD. This means the oil contains CBD and all the other cannabinoids, terpenes, and nutrients that are found in the entire cannabis plant. Look for Blue Leaf CBD oil. Blue Leaf Naturals is a Kentucky proud company. They use only Kentucky-grown hemp, supporting Kentucky farmers and businesses. Visit their website at blueleafcbd.com now and use the code SMILE at checkout for free shipping.
Well, g'day Scarefest fans, Glenn here from FakeShemp.net. It's great to be with you for another week, and I'm feeling really psyched about this one. Mostly thanks to Joe from Bonehead Weekly, of all people. I was watching him last week talk about The House with the Clock in Its Walls and how he was inspired to sort of explore more family-friendly horror films, mostly because of this time of isolation and family togetherness, and I thought that was a really great idea. So just for this week only, I'm going to do the same thing. So thanks, Joe. Love the inspiration, mate. I've got a film from 1986 called Frog Dreaming. Yep, that's Henry Thomas, the kid from E.T., and this movie represents a massive chunk of my childhood. It embodies all of the things that made the 80s adventure movies so damn good. It's got kids on bikes doing things they probably shouldn't. It's got dangerous situations that kids of today wouldn't even comprehend being part of. And of course, it has authorities hell-bent on catching those little buggers. And as the title Frog Dreaming alludes to, there is a huge element of mystery and fantasy with this story exploring indigenous Dreamtime mythologies. Now, the Dreamtime to us down here is more or less the equivalent to the, I guess, spiritual stories and myths of ancestry among your Native American people. So anyway, Frog Dreaming tells the story of Cody, an American kid who lives with his Australian uncle after his parents die. He's an inquisitive type, he builds contraptions and loves adventure, and when he discovers that a local lake has a mysterious creature living inside it, he sets about building a homemade scuba outfit to venture to the bottom of the lake. Naturally, things never go as planned, and his adventure turns into a story of mishap and peril. Anyway, I'm sounding like I'm reading off a VHS cover or something, so I'll stop. Anyway, all you need to know is that Frog Dreaming is a wonderful family adventure that nudges into the family-friendly horror realms, and it's a fantastic way to introduce your kids to the excitement of horror without being too edgy. It was directed by Brian Trenchard Smith, who is a master B-movie director who I'm sure many of you have heard of. And finally, I can't talk about Frog Dreaming without mentioning that it was written by Everett D. Roche, who is possibly the greatest screenwriter of all time. I've talked about him before, I'll talk about him again. Some of his best work is Road Games, Patrick, Harlequin. This guy was a legend. Anyway, moving on. Now, if you're watching this trailer and it all seems kind of familiar, maybe that's because you have seen it. Over there in America, it was released as The Quest. But for some bizarre reason, they gave Cody a rifle on the cover, which is kind of weird because he doesn't have any guns in the movie, and we really don't have guns here in general. But hey, that's the American publicity machine for you. It's all about what you know, right? And in the UK, the film was released as The Go Kids, which was their attempt to cash in on the popularity of the Goonies at the time, which was a fair comparison, to be honest with you. And check out the poster. If that's not a rip-off, then I'll be damned. It is such a wonderful film. I watch it at least once a year without fail. That's how much I love it. And I hope you guys get a chance to watch it. It's well worth finding. It's not available on any streaming services over there that I'm aware of. But if you jump onto YouTube, I think there's a full version of it in standard definition, which is well worth a look. But if you really, really like the look of it, then hop onto the Australian eBay and find a Blu-ray copy from down here, because it's region free and it's high definition, and the film has never looked better, and it's packed with special features, including interviews and commentaries and things like that. So Frog Dreaming, add it to your collection, please. Anyway, that's it for another week from me. Don't forget, I've got a podcast you might want to listen to every week. It's Good Movie Monday, drops on your Sunday, and that's about it from me. I'll catch you next week.
Welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest Television. Our guest tonight is Mr. Lew Temple. First of all, I do want to point out, now tell me, Lew, on your book about Kentucky tobacco farmers growing pot, tell me that you've actually researched it and are not basing this on your experience from Justified.
Yeah, I did an episode of Justified, and I wouldn't base anything on my experience.
Okay.
Interestingly enough, the two leads, Walton Goggins and Timmy Oliphant, are both dear friends. And my experience on that show, I was on a movie when they asked me to come guest star, and my schedule on the film only allowed a certain 2 days to work, so they had to cram all of my work into 2 days, which meant overtime. And that crew, it was towards the end of their season, was desperately overworked. It was getting towards the holiday, Christmas time. They weren't looking forward to working OT. They did not like me. When it was all my fault. And so Justified, and I've also played the world's dumbest criminal. And so it just, no, I don't base anything off Justified, though it was a great series. I recognize that. But for you locals, I'm sure you probably, as a local Kentuckian, you have a lot of discrepancy. No, actually, I was in Sundance, and your governor was there with the film commission throwing a big bash to promote Kentucky film. And somehow I got invited, and we ended up doing the Bourbon Trail right there in that saloon that we were at. And he said, why don't you write a story about Kentucky? And I said, well, I'm not from Kentucky, and I don't even have any kin in Kentucky. And he said, but you're a son of the South. You've got to. So I canceled my flight, rented a car, and drove home to Los Angeles from Utah and thought up this entire story. And then actually did some research on the marijuana farms. Now, you've gone green, the state. When I wrote this, it was before that. So it was about, there's a big Politico storyline about giving up bourbon rights, the right to bourbon through the DEA and the Alcohol and Tobacco Commission. And if they could legalize marijuana, then the federal government wanted bourbon to be able to be made everywhere outside of Kentucky. So that's a big story line. Also, I have a wildcatter lady governor that I modeled after Ann Richards from Texas. So it's fun. And it's different. It's not mainstream.
I'll just say that Justified put out there every stereotype in Kentucky, and all of us Kentuckians would get real indignant about it, sitting there going, "Oh, I know that guy, though. I know that guy."
Right.
Now, on the topic of writing for movies and doing movies, we're starting to open back up a little bit here in Kentucky. Have they given you any guidance as far as movie production when they're going to start trying to get those rusty wheels back in motion?
There's been a lot of conversation, specifically with our unions, and it's really going to get down to that. Like everything, it's going to go to a authority decision, not just Screen Actors Guild, but IATSE, the Teamsters, OSHA. Everything's going to be built on a safety structural operation. That could get very tricky because they all don't get along. So the people that are going to ask us to come back to work won't necessarily be in the best negotiating power with our unions, because some of the negotiations right now have been pushed on force majeure, which is an act of natural disaster. They've been furloughed to hiatus. So essentially, they're not paying their bills. And that doesn't breed good fellowship. So, look, you're not doing anything for me. I'm not going to do anything for you. I think the talks, like this entire epidemic, are about caution. And the caution will be not too many people on set. Things like craft services, makeup artists, a lot of people standing next to each other. Those are things that are going to be adjusted. You might look at the writers writing less players in their scripts. You'll see less co-stars, less guest stars. You won't see background players. Some of those things will be CGI'd. We're going to probably look for a way to build similar to what daytime television is, so the regulars do all the carrying, not unlike what the shows we used to watch in the 70s, where the leads did all the work and the guest star came in and pushed a little bit. Today's shows are all about the guest stars coming in and pushing hard and the leads chasing the cart down the hill. So that could change. My personal opinion is things like independent film, very, very typical of Kentucky and Kentucky's film society, that indies will get out in the water first. They'll be the little wake runners that are getting out first because they're leaner and meaner and have more of a can-do attitude. So they're going to strip down and be more fruitful. And I think it's going to take a while for the studios and the networks to organize. So look for your independent films to hit it right away. And they're also innovative type. You've talked to many filmmakers on your show, and you know a lot of them. Very innovative, and they're not pinned in by the constructs of what a studio or a conglomerate network might pin in. So those are the things off the front. We're talking about September. I've got a movie offer in August. I've got a movie offer that's going to shoot right here. They're going to put a screen right behind me, a green screen, and shoot me in the scene and then build the background in. So it's different. It's give me a catchphrase, CC. We can't use those two N's anymore. It's
over to you, CC.
It may be delightfully different. Is that better?
Yeah.
Wes, is that better? It's going to be delightfully different. It's going to be good. I think it will be good. We're going to bounce and all. We're going to reinvent the wheel, and it's going to be good for our audience.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, CC. You're up.
Oh, well, I'm so glad. Perfectly imperfect, maybe. Now, talking about directors and things, You had a piece, you were in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and you worked with Tarantino. Tell me, what was that like?
It was amazing. It was fun. So he's the ultimate storyteller. And I don't just mean that on screen. He actually is an incredible storyteller, like right here in front of you. And he can tell you a story one after another, and they're all very engaging. And your day is spent not just being marveled at how a master like that works, but also with his stories. He's just got incredible stories, and one is just better than the next. So that was a lot of fun. He is in entirely command of his sets, and it's fun to watch his big players. You know, I was a pimple on an elephant's butt, really, and most of my stuff got cut, but it was just great to see how he operated. It was also great to see how the other players navigated his control, were able to play him in order to get what they needed. You know, it's just like a scene. It's interesting. It's, you know, we all need something. I need something out of this podcast. I need something from Wes, so I'm going to do that. I'm going to figure out what that is. And that was fun to watch. It was fun to watch masters work. Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, Al Pacino. It was great watching very subtle actors do their thing, and maybe the subtlety didn't, because if you notice Tarantino, his stuff really is big. It's a big splash, and so it was an incredible experience. And he is he's one of the last lions. There's a lot of young bucks coming in, but you know, I've had a chance to work for Tony Scott, for Gore Verbinski, Pirates of the Caribbean, Quentin Tarantino, Rob Zombie. Interesting. They all respect each other, and they all have storytelling at their core. Those three, Tony Scott, Gore Verbinski, Quentin Tarantino, work huge. Rob works very insular. So that was an incredible experience for sure.
Oh, and I want to talk more about you and Rob when we come back from this commercial break. Absolutely.
All right. Yeah.
Do you feel lost in life? Do you seem to be stuck in emotions that are not yours? Is your home not the sanctuary it should be? Contact Spirit Mechanics, where they take a team approach to your metaphysical and spiritual problems. Spirit Mechanics specializes in aura cleansing, stone attunement, attachment removal, and house cleansings. Spirit Mechanics tailors their approach to your individual spiritual path and needs. Now find them monthly at the Central Kentucky Mystical Market in Lexington. Or on Facebook by searching Spirit Mechanics, that's MECHANIX. Spirit Mechanics, for your spiritual health and well-being.
Movie history this week brings us the release of the supernatural horror film The Craft back in 1996. This film follows the life of 4 outcast teenage girls as they explore witchcraft and begin using it for their own gain. Their powers quickly become more than they can handle, and they conjure up more than they expected when things begin to take a turn. This film was a surprise box office hit and has become a cult classic with a large and loyal fan base. The film is praised for its departure from the average teen angst movie by incorporating darker themes. No doubt the film has become something of a rite of passage for young women, and in 2019, it was announced that the movie was getting a reboot with production beginning that year. Here's to hoping Hollywood won't destroy yet another horror classic.
Welcome back, everybody, to Scarefest Television. Okay, we're going to do our celebrity announcements. We kind of took a pause while we kind of got our breath when all this crap went down. But we're back in the celebrity business, everybody. All of our guidance is Scarefest 2020 at the end of October 23rd through 25th. Scarefest the 13th is going forward, and that's talking to Lexington and the Convention Center and the state. It's October. It's 5-6 months away. So we're going to start off with Mr. Vincent Ward, another season 3 of The Walking Dead alumni. Of course, Vincent also has a we'll call it a reputable film career. No, he's been in some great stuff, people. He's well known for Ocean's 11, Traffic, Bringing Down the House, Devil Row. I believe he was in, not my favorite movie, but the one with Kane Hodder. Oh, gosh.
Oh, come on.
So embarrassing. Death House. The one I looked forward to for a year, and then it's like, what the hell? Anyway, Kane Hodder's just going to slice my throat. Anyway, Vincent Ward is coming not only to the Scarefest, but in 2 weeks he will be my guest on Scarefest Television. Now, here's one that holds a special place in my heart. Mr. Jim Beckholt. Some of you may not know who Jim Beckholt is. Now, his claim to fame right now is Candy Corn. He was in it with Tony Todd in the movie Candy Corn. I believe it is streaming now. I'll be watching that this week. He's also done some independent stuff, Office Uprising, Corky and Bob's Big Adventure, or something like that. But he's a hometown boy, and when I say hometown, I mean hometown. You can go ahead and click over to me. He lives in my hometown. He's going to be our guest next week. And he's a Scarefest. He came to Scarefest for years as a performer. Does the best pet detective, Ace Ventura pet detective. I mean, nails it. Absolutely. I mean, a younger version. That's what he does. So anyway, he's one of our celebrity guest announcements tonight. So there's 2 for you. We're getting on the roll. And back to you, CC. You got one more coming up.
Well, that is exciting. I'm really looking forward to Scarefest and seeing everybody there this year. Now, we were talking about Rob Zombie before we went to the break, and you were in the Devil's Rejects. And I just want to say that I do feel that tube tops are appropriate bull riding attire.
Well, ride at your own risk. If you can keep them rascals harnessed, then good on you, as Adam Banjo would say. That's hilarious.
I have to ask, how did it feel to see a woman wearing your face running screaming?
That felt strange, obviously. But what was even more strange was that year during Halloween, that season, young children would knock on my door, trick-or-treating, wearing my face. Now, that was really bizarre because Rob had sent out that mask as a Halloween costume, and it took pretty decent. So, the Devil's Rejects, we throw the word classic around too often, maybe, but I really think that's a movie that deserves that moniker. It was such an amazing experience and such a gift. Not just looking back on it, but at the time, I recognized this is so strange. And I didn't have any horror background at the time. My resume wasn't filled with that, nor had I been what I would call a horror aficionado. I was a kid that enjoyed scary movies, but I wasn't, someone like probably Wes that grew up knowing all the, credits. But no. So I didn't know what to expect. When I sat at that table, the first table read, with this group of professionals who I want to just take a second and honor them because we're starting to lose them. This is Sid Haig. This is Bill Moseley. Ken Foray, William Forsythe. Jeffrey Lewis was there with me. This was a group of actors that understood. They did something, and at the time I didn't know what it was, but later, having made the movie, I recognized they subtly invade your space. They have a way of entering your frame through the camera and pushing in ever so slightly and really making you uncomfortable. And that's how they would work in the scene, which then would make me react exactly in that way. And I learned so much from Bill Moseley and Sid Haig and Ken Foray and William Forsythe and Danny Trejo. It was an incredible experience. And I think we caught lightning in a bottle with that. And so it was entirely exciting. I'm very proud to be a part of it. And everything that Rob does, by the way, and I'm proud to be part of his ensemble.
That's amazing. So here you are. You've been in this amazing horror film, and now you are hands deep, elbow deep in a kids film that's coming up, correct? Based on the Goonies. Tell me about that.
Well, it's called Time Crafters, Treasure of Pirates Cove, and it has a Goonies theme. We have 5 young 12-year-olds who, small town, they're rather on the fringe of social graces. They're not the coolest kids in school, but in their own way, they're pretty cool, and they find a treasure map. But in the meantime, the other side of the coin is that through an electrical storm, this pirate ship, which was in a battle with another pirate ship, has been transported through time travel back to the future into present day, small town Renaissance fair, pirate days of this coastal town. And so these pirates would appear to be just normal civilians dressing up, but they're there looking for this booty. And they all converge at once, headed up by the villainous pirate, Captain Lynch, played by Malcolm McDowell. And our handsome hero is an actor named Eric Balfour, who's delightful. And our heroine is Denise Richards, who's also great. And so we're excited. I'm very excited. I got to play a really cool supporting role where I speak quite a bit of Irish in this one, actually, Wes, for you. And it's quite great. And my hair's black, and I kind of modeled him after Sirius Black in Harry Potter. Oh, yes. And so I'm this professor that's been transported. And so we're looking for a Netflix release in the summertime. And that's such a great experience because it is a children's family adventure movie, and there's just not enough of those.
Well, that's wonderful. That's something that our viewers can watch with their families, but still has the pirates. So it sounds like it could still be a little bit.
There's nothing better than pirates.
And will you have the facial hair?
I will have the facial hair, and not just that, it'll be black. I'm entirely black in it, which is different for me. Yeah.
Very nice. Very good. Well, we're all looking forward to that. Let's see. What are you mentioned?
I wanted to mention something about Rob Zombie, if I may.
Yes, please.
It struck me during these times. We're always looking for a little distraction or a little variety. When Rob and I work together, often he kind of builds with me the characters that we do. And in 31, this movie, he put a mask on me and he said, look, I wear masks every day on stage when I'm performing as a musician. They change your person. They change your personality. You do things that you wouldn't normally. You become something that's outside of you. You become an alter ego. It's great. And I want you to experience that and let go into that. And it really was true. That particular character was nothing like me, Psycho Head. It was something that I hope I never bring to society. But it strikes me as we're wearing these masks in social distancing, how I wonder if anyone's feeling different than themselves. And most people I ask and say, no, it's just a nuisance. It's hard to breathe. And I realize it's because we're not covering our eyes. When you feel outside of yourself, it's when you mask up like a superhero, for instance. So I just want to throw that out there. Rob always has such great insight, and he directs in this way with real personal experience. He's done it on stage. This guy is an incredible performer with an amazing energy. And so he brings it, and he has a quiet intensity when he directs. He knows what he wants, and he wants what he knows, but it's always right. And it's really validating for your work when you get it. So side Rob Zombie story, sorry.
Well, as Scarefest viewers, we are all fans of playing dress up. And I'll tell you, the first day I wore my mask out, the first thing I did was go in the liquor store and say, this is a stick up. And I think they thought it was funny, but I'm not sure because it kind of crossed the line a little bit.
I can see that about you crossing the line a little bit. Just a little bit, CC. Are you whining?
Am I whining?
Yes.
You mean like whining?
Thank you. I thought it could be pomegranate juice. I'm not sure, but yeah. That's right out of Be More Hills.
That's from Australia. Thank you, Glenn.
Australian. Good day, mate. Australian, a little Aussie kangaroo wine there.
So, what are you drinking during quarantine?
I'm a good old-fashioned, and you'll appreciate this maybe, Wes. I like rusty water. I'm a bourbon guy, and my bourbon of choice, I like all the high-end stuff, but I like a regular guy's solid Bullet. I like Bullet, and I like the rye, and I like the bourbon both. So I will go Bullet first. If they don't have Bullet, I will ask for a Maker's Mark. And I do appreciate there's going to be people that say, hey, you tried this and this. I would try them all. But my go-to is Bullet. And you know what? I like Corona. Can I say that?
Oh, can you? Yes, you can.
Okay. Because that's my my go-to cold beer. Unless I'm in Texas, and then, then I'll drink a Lone Star. But I might have to change to like Pacifico just out of, public acceptance, or PC, something like that. What do you think, Wes?
Yeah, Wes, what are you drinking?
Coffee, because I'm a responsible adult tonight, as I am every Friday night. If I drink this, the show just goes sideways. Everybody, we're going to hit our final commercial break. We'll be back with more from Mr. Lew Temple.
Akashic Awareness is a metaphysical healing and learning center unlike any other. A large selection of crystals, gems, and minerals greet you as you walk in the door, but from that point onward, the journey is yours. They offer a great selection of metaphysical tools, state-of-the-art holistic healing, with classes and lectures scheduled throughout the month. Akashic Awareness is open Tuesday through Saturday, noon until 6:30, 7 on Friday and Saturday. Visit their website for a current calendar of their almost daily special events and guests at akashicawareness.com. And while you are there, be sure to join their email list to stay current. Akashic Awareness, 328 Sycamore Street, Elizabethtown, Kentucky.
Coyote Chris Sutton.
Shamanism.
Spiritual advisement.
Paranormal investigations.
Inspirational presentations.
Bringing light to the darkest places for over 20 years. Go to coyotechris.com to learn more.
Welcome, Scarefest fans, and welcome to Lew Temple. I'm hoping Wes asked a Tony Scott question, but I bet he doesn't, because I'd like to ask Lew about that. Mr. Temple, your best Tony Scott story if we ever have a chance. Also, loved you and Unstoppable. Well, this week we're going to do a remake, and the remake is Rabid. Now, Rabid was a movie made by Cronenberg in the 70s in Canada, and it's really famous for body horror and the fact that it was made by Cronenberg. the Soska sisters, Jen and Sylvia, have made this remake that I wanted to see last year, didn't get a chance to, finally did get to see it. Now, the original plot and the plot of this one are fairly similar. There's this procedure, people start turning into vampires. This one lady has something coming out of her tongue, and she basically transmits it. Now, I find all this fascinating that we're living in COVID-19 world, and I was watching the movie thinking, that doctor doesn't have a mask on. That person obviously isn't going through with The original had Marilyn Chambers. Now, if you're wondering who Marilyn Chambers is, or why that sounds familiar, she was in a famous porno film called Behind the Green Door, and then she made it into mainstream movies. A young woman develops a taste for human blood after experimental plastic surgery, and her victims turn into bloodthirsty zombies, leading into a citywide epidemic. Starts going through some of the same tropes that you see in all these movies. She wakes up the next morning. Did I do that? Did I not do that? We all know she is. She's, there's a lot of generic things. She's originally a vegetarian, of course. After she has this procedure, she now wants steak. She starts licking a steak in her fridge. We've seen all this before. She's a designer of clothes. She's not doing very well before she gets in the accident, gets disfigured. Then she's pretty, and everybody's paying attention to her. Same bullshit you've seen in so many other movies. Same cliches. It's interesting to me. I don't know that I'd have had the same reaction to it a year ago before our pandemic, because I was literally watching the movie in one scene, and you see the doctor walking around, there's being blood sprayed everywhere, no one's wearing a mask or gloves, and I was like, no real hospital would have done this during a pandemic, because I'm watching it on the news. Now, granted, regular folks wouldn't, but a hospital, not so much. It's not overly believable. There's a Silent Hill dream sequence, why, with twitching nurses. I will give them credit. There's a few clever little odes to the first one. There's a cameo from Lynn Lowry. She's in Shiver. If you ever get a chance to watch, that's another Cronenberg film. There's a scene with the lead in a swimming pool that's straight out of Shivers, if you've ever seen Cronenberg's film. The scene with her procedure is right out of Dead Ringers. They're absolutely wearing the red gowns before the procedure like they did in Dead Ringers. Have you ever seen that Cronenberg film? That's one I highly recommend. There's a lot of references to not to just the original Rabbit, but several Cronenberg films. It does have the amazing Stephen McHattie, who is a wonderful Canadian character actor, and he's in one or a couple of scenes, so for nothing else, you should check that out. He's in a movie called Pontypool that I should talk about on here. There's a cool reference to Schadenfreude. It's the exhibit's called the Schadenfreude exhibit. That's pleasure derived by someone from another one's misfortune. So you're watching someone's misfortune, having a good time. So maybe that's what all horror films are, Schadenfreude. Stephen King says they're rehearsals for our death. Who knows? Anyway, should you see the new Rabid remake? No. Try to pass this one, okay? But if you're interested in body horror, check out almost anything from Cronenberg from the 70s. If you don't know who that is, I'm going to take this moment to tell you, Cronenberg, who's a huge influence. He eventually made The Fly for Hollywood, the Jeff Goldblum one. But before that, there's Videodrome, there's Rabbit, there's Shivers, Scanners. Check out some of Cronenberg's early films, specifically if you're into body horror, if that scares you. This has been Joe Lewis of Bonehead Weekly. Thank you so much.
And welcome back, everybody, to the final segment of Scarefest Television with our guest tonight, Mr. Lew Temple. Now, Lew, I'm here. Actual, honest-to-God movie question. The Walking Dead. Now, first of all, I, unlike some of my horror snob friends that wander the halls of Scarefest, I like the show, and I really liked it back season 3, especially when you were on. Now,
thank you.
The Walking Dead is famous for killing off people that right when you get attached to them. Do they give you any heads up when you're going to kick the bucket on that show, or do you just get handed a script when you go in and you say, wait, it's only 3 pages. What's going on?
It's interesting because you're going to have Vincent Ward on in a couple of weeks, I think, and he's going to tell you a story that changed the game. And I'm not going to tell it, but please, in your notes, remember to ask him this same question. For me, I was notified 3 weeks in advance by the showrunner, Glenn Mazzara. At that point in time, he was the showrunner. He didn't last much longer than I did, but he called. He said, "Hey, Axel's going to. He's so great. We love the character, and it's going so well." And I thought we were talking about future character development. And the next thing I know, he said, "Yeah, Axel's going to take a bullet." And I was like, "What? No." And then, you know, you do what I call the denial dance. You come up with reasons he shouldn't and solutions for someone else. You know, I'm like, what about this new Allen guy? He's a real asshole. Why don't we take him out? You know, and you go through all of that, and then you realize this is going to happen, and you have to get to a place in your head that you honor your character, and you're going to honor your character's death, not just for you, but for your character and the audience. So I made it a real point to commit myself to that. But they try to give you some notice. Otherwise, it becomes this really tragic event. You have to keep in mind we're together so much as a cast and crew, and we become a family. And when you lose someone in your family, it hurts. But also keep in mind, we become teammates. And when a good team loses a key player, it hurts. It's hard to replace. And so everyone sort of feels it. And it causes a little disruption in the family and the workflow, just for a natural sense of empathy towards the character, but also the actor that has left. So they do try to smooth that transition out a little bit. I was happy not to leave the show by any means. I kind of expected to catch another season, maybe subvert the comic and go out on the road with them. But I went down as was constructed by Robert Kirkman in the war at the prison. I was very happy. They called me kindly. First of all, Andrew Lincoln went to bat for me. We can't take out this character because he's becoming quite attached. And we also can't take out this actor, Lew Temple, because he's really helping carry the load. And that was very kind. And I'm so thankful. But at the end, you have to go do a good job with leaving. And I wanted to make sure that I did that. I did ask them not to indicate that it was coming. I remember seeing the Zapruder tapes of the Kennedy assassination and how what a gut punch that was, how shocking it was. And I wanted sort of Axel's death to be similar. And I thought we did a great job with that. I wanted to end up in Melissa McBride's arms, Carol, that she had to deal with blood on her hands and death. And what was she going to do? And I don't think anyone understood. She wasn't directed to use this body as a shield. She didn't, she just reacted. And it was perfect. Everything was perfect. She's so perfect with her taste and her pitch and her choices. And so many of the players on the show are. And I think that's what lends itself to a good show. And the reason is because everyone's pulling on the same side of the rope. There's no divas or hierarchy. Everyone is helping to build the house, and it's very gratifying, not unlike a Rob Zombie film.
Now this is from the chat room. Do want to ask you this. Now, which death scene do you prefer? The one you had in The Walking Dead or the one in The Devil's Rejects?
Ooh.
Oh, I'm going to say the one in The Devil's Rejects was difficult and painful. The Walking Dead was very quick, and by the time they finished filming, I was on vacation. I think I was heading to Hawaii and off the show on the last day of that episode, and I had a bunch of money in my pocket. The Devil's Rejects was Bill Moseley and I out in Palmdale, California, in the hottest 105-degree heat on a stinky chicken ranch, with blood being pumped from Wayne Toth through my neck and my, sticky blood, and me spitting it up into Bill Moseley's long hair. And every take took 20 minutes. because I was so mad at him and he was so mad at me, just the frustration of the day. And they had to clean his hair strand by strand each take to get it clean before he's cutting off my face. And it got a little crunchy. It got a little testy. And that was work. And we did 3 days on that scene in and of itself. Kane Hodder, I'm sure, has been a guest of yours. I know he's a friend of the show. He saved my life in that scene. And I say that literally. We were doing a take. Most of the takes, it had a stunt knife with a retractable blade that goes into the hilt. And we were doing an insert with the real knife being pulled up. It was Bill Moseley and myself, not Bill's stunt double. The scene was going well. When Bill pulls the knife out to stab me in the groin, by the time he pulls it out up high, it's supposed to be cut. Rob was engaged in the scene, didn't yell cut. Kane, heightenedly aware, ran into the scene and broke the shot, grabbed Bill's hand, and otherwise I may have gotten stabbed in the groin for real, which is not a good place. The carotid arteries there. So I give Kane all the credit in the world for being heads up. He also didn't have any reservations about overstepping a director like Rob Zombie and breaking the scene for safety. And so that was his job. And that's always his job as a stunt coordinator. And so I owe him my daughter. I probably wouldn't have been able to have kids. So God bless Kane Hodder. He's been through a lot.
Now, final question of the evening. How does a Louisiana boy make the jump to Hollywood?
That's funny. You know, I'm in Houston, Texas, and I'm in my previous career, which is baseball, and my passion, my first love. You're going to like this answer, CC. And I see a young lady that kind of bears a resemblance to you, as I remember. And I follow her into a building, chat her up for a dinner date. And I walk into an acting class in Houston, Texas, and I see this activity going on down on stage, and I say, well, those are my people. I can do that. Well, I couldn't. So I had to go back to college and learn, become an actor, training, and committed to that. And slowly but surely started to develop a skill set. So I think you can take a passion and pivot it to almost anything, as long as the passion's there, whatever that may be. It could be stamp collecting and become a great painter or a great musician or the President of the United States. And so that was unique. And people ask about acting all the time and how do you do that? And I think the common human experience is storytelling. It's telling a story like we are tonight, and listening to a story as your audience is. Everyone's got a story to tell, and I want to hear them all. I actually enjoy listening to a story as much as I enjoy telling a story. And I think that we all have a story. There's a line in a movie I did called Rango. The Spirit of the West tells Rango, no man can walk out on his own story. And we all think we're going to tell a story that's great, but in the end, we have to tell our story. And I think that is the truth. It's Hamlet's speech to the players, to thine own self be true. And Michael Cudlitz told me one day, I am how I'm drawn. And I thought that was so appropriate. So that's your truth. You have a story and a voice. Tell it. We all want to hear it.
Well, Lew, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. Everybody, this has been Scarefest Television. Lew will be back with us in October.
Looking forward to it.
Celebrity guest. Yes, we're told. He said we're like the first thing on his calendar now because.
Yeah, for sure. We're all looking forward to it. It's going to be one of the best Scarefests ever. It'll be the big boat out of the dock for sure.
Not to have you sticking around, but I want to tell you, that's been the argument we've been having is is everybody going to be afraid to go out, or is people going to have cabin fever so bad they're just going to swarm the place? I'm leaning towards cabin fever because I'm ready to just like go kiss pigs in the field. I need contact.
I think by that time we'll have some information about, continuing to practice safe measures. We may be closer to a vaccination. We may be closer to understanding what shedders are, who's carrying, who's not, how to, just protect ourselves a little bit better. We'll have more information that will make it okay for us to be together. And I think Scarefest, the state of Kentucky, Lexington, the show promoter, I think everybody will be responsible and prudent. And I would ask the audience, I don't call them fans because they're part of us. I ask them to be the same for everyone's health so that we can all do this together. And don't be shy, but don't be stupid. How's that?
Good answer. Everybody, Scarefest Television, come back next week. We'll see you later.
Thank you.